I mean, it's so silly to think that like a girl can't be a grip. I was walking up and down cliffs in Malibu with like bags that were heavier than I was, and I was doing it, and I was doing it as fast as the boys were, and I was doing everything I was told. So it's just, you can't complain. That's a huge thing. You can't whine, you can't complain, because you'll get judged harder, and you just got to do everything that you're asked to do. That's like really, really important. But I don't know. You kind of, it was hard because I had to dress like a boy, basically. I had to wear the like boys like long shorts and like a t-shirt and a baseball hat, and like I kind of had to like look like a boy, and it was terrible and I hated it, but that's what you kind of have to do to get in. And then once you're accepted as that, you can be basically anything. And I mean, there's reasons for outfits and stuff, but you don't want to be like, look at me, I'm a girl, I'm girly girl. Like my dad, he dragged it out of me. He was like, no, we're going shopping, you're getting a grip uniform. I was like, no, I don't want to, it's so ugly, I don't want to look like a boy. Like, oh, he dragged it out of me, and I was like, fine. And I mean, I fit in.
Right.
I had lighting gloves. All the boys forgot theirs. They're like, how do you know you need lighting gloves? Like, and I was like, oh, you know, just been around. Like, I got up at like 5 in the morning, had to go to like the beach or whatever. I got my sneakers soaking wet. It was soaking wet for the rest of the day. Like all these terrible things. Like I didn't get like a break because all of the extras ate our food. And like you would think that it would be terrible. And I came home smiling at the end of the day, and it was like 10 p.m. And I was just like, that was the best thing ever. Like I got so much experience. I got to like hold this thing and just be there. And it definitely. Well, for the two things that I actually ended up doing was my dad got asked to grip, and he was just like, oh, well, my daughter's here, do you want a camera intern? And he was like, yeah, sure. She doesn't mind, it's long. She has to get up early. If she wants to do all the work, go for it. And so I ended up doing a lot more than just like camera interning, but that's like what my job was. But I went to this K Jewelers commercial at the Rose Bowl, and we were just sitting around, and the production assistant coordinator, whoever hires the production assistants, was handing out like popsicles, and she was like, oh, do you want one? And my dad was just like, oh, this is my daughter. He didn't like know this lady. He was just like, this is my daughter. She's visiting. She's a film student. Do you have any jobs available? She's like, yeah, give me your card. Like, here's my number. Just call me whenever. And that's basically how it is. You just ask people for jobs, and they're like, sure, why not? Come on. And then once you start, you just kind of get with like your own little group, and that group just kind of goes and does jobs together, which was what I did for the music video. It was just a group of kids, and then they work with like a DP who's older and like way more experienced, and he kind of gets them the jobs, and they all do it together, and there's like a grip part and just audio, and everything is, and they all have their little jobs, and they kind of just work together. And then there's like other groups there who kind of join. I don't know. It's cute. It's just little groups, like they all just join together to make like a bigger crew. And I did talk to people when I was out there who are working as like grips and other things. And as a film student, I'm definitely looked as like higher jobs, maybe like producing, directing. It's like, oh, she's a film student. She's not like just a regular guy off the street who decided to be a grip. She knows, like, and like I also know Avid, which is like out there. Is like if you know Avid, like you can get paid so much more than Final Cut, because everyone knows Final Cut in LA. Like who doesn't know Final Cut? I could get paid $10 an hour to use Final Cut, or I could get $100 an hour to use Avid. It's like a huge difference. And like my professors at home will use Final Cut for little things, but if you're doing something big, you use Avid and you'll get paid way more money. I mean, I've actually kind of grown to like Avid more than Final Cut, which is, I never thought I would, because it's scary. It doesn't look user friendly, but there's oh yeah, there's a lot of effects that are useful and I think more advanced than Final Cut. And just the way like a trim mode in Avid is a lot easier and very important for editing, like very important. Like there is one in Final Cut, but it's harder to find and use. And so there's things, once you start using Avid more, you find that it actually is better to edit with. It's harder, but if you know editing, you know editing. You can edit on stuff. At my work, I have to use the most random editing things. Like I have to use iMovie if it won't import into Final Cut, if it won't import into Avid, I have to find something really random to edit with, like iMovie or I don't know, anything. So you have to know how to use like every like editing software, because you don't know what you're getting, and you don't know what if it's like for a commercial, they could literally be editing on anything. You need to know like all of them, because you have to listen to whatever they say and do what they want. It's not like what your preference is. That's why like you get paid for Avid or Final Cut. Oh, I did an interview for my dad for his company with Pat and Oswald, and I edited that together. And I got paid $100 for it, and it was easy. It was just him at like a podium, and he just answered a bunch of questions. I had to put it together in a story, basically, and just kind of shorten it. And that was easy, and I got paid $100 for that. I'll put something together and I'll like it. You have to agree with whoever is talking. You have to say, okay, I'll change it. Because it's their stuff and you're just working for them. It's like having a boss. You have to just listen. And that's the hardest thing, because you're like, no, I know this is right. It's way better. But you just have to listen because they're paying you.
Well, we went through that with Shannon Walden.
Yeah, and you see that constantly. That's what everything, because unless you're the producer, the top guy, someone else is telling you what to do. So you just have to, that's the hardest thing, is just like giving up a little bit of yours. You're like, fine, you're paying me, okay. Once I'm done college, I'll probably be freelancing. It's hard to work for a company unless you're doing like stuff that you don't, like giving people coffee, which is not what I want to do. And I'm like freelancing now while I'm in school, so I don't have like a job. And it's really important to know how to send an invoice and basically know how to not get cheated out of your money and how to track everything, and it's really important. Like fear is like really, it will make you learn. You know you can't mess up. You know everything you do is really important. So you just learn it. You're not like, oh, well, I don't know. And you don't second guess yourself. You just do it and you learn it. And if you've been told it, it's there somewhere. So you kind of it just comes to you. But when you sit in a classroom and you do the same thing over and over and over again, it's boring. You don't want to learn it because it's repetitive, and there's no point to it. You're not actually doing anything. You're just doing what you're told. It's not learning. But when you're like scared that someone's gonna like fire you, get mad, get a bad grade, like something like that, and it's not just like, oh, here you go, you learn it like instantly. And you're like, I'm never forgetting this because I don't want to mess up this ever again.
Can you give me one example of that?
I don't know. I know like, oh, I was holding the lenses, oh my gosh. When I was holding the lenses wrong when I was working on this music video, and the camera person was just like, no. I was like, oh my gosh, and nothing, like for the rest of the day, like I did nothing wrong because I was just holding it wrong. And
what does holding it wrong mean?
They were like really big lenses, and I was like, I don't know, I was holding it wrong. He was like, hold it like this, hold it like this. And I was like, okay. And like, then I know, hold it like this, and forever, like, I will hold a lens the right way. And basically everything I've learned is that way. It's like, what's an XLR cable? You just gotta know it. Like, you can't be like, this is it, and then I'll forget that if someone's just everything. I feel like I've actually learned and know, like, well, is something that I've just had to like go and do or mess up and learn.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think you have to go to college to learn how to do film or video production?
No, no, not at all. I don't, definitely not. Nope. I was just sitting eating in the student center at my school, and I was like, oh my God, Jamie, I did that. I was there. And she was like, what? I was like, that's the music video I did. And there's nothing like that. Like, oh, the coolest feeling. Everything I needed to know was in this class. Like everything I needed. Like when when I was working in California, just things that you've said just popped in my head, like just be quiet, just keep going, pick up, just keep working, don't stop, like, you know this, like, you know, like everything. It was just like constant, like, and it was this class. It was nothing I did at Hofstra. It was just everything from this class, and I did really well. The DP wanted to work with me again. So, but yeah, it was everything in this class. And if I didn't have that, I would just have like the little bit of knowledge that Hofstra gives you, and it's not enough.